Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video where today we return with round 12 of our F1 Manager McLaren career mode. Yes, we're back today, ready for the French Grand Prix. If you missed out on the last video from Austria, definitely worth going back and checking out. An absolutely chaotic and crazy race from the Styrian Mountains, and yeah, one that has certainly changed the course of the McLaren RTG. But we've got plenty of other things going on though as we head towards the French Grand Prix from Le Castellet this weekend. We've got new regulation votes, we've got I think F1 in schools as well. There's all sorts going on in this series. But as well, quickly, if you're new around here as well, please do make sure you leave a like on the channel. Obviously, get yourself subscribed as well. We're just over 2,000 subscribers away now from 100k. I want to try and hit that before the Bahrain Grand Prix at the start of the real-life 2023 season. But, yeah, please do consider that as well. But looking towards, though, this week, we can see regulation vote change. So, with these goals in mind, we're proposing new sporting regulations for the 2023 season. To promote greater equality in the sport, we propose that all teams receive the same wind tunnel and CFD testing limits. This is a significant regulation change. Now, that's kind of gone exactly against what Formula 1 has done in real life. And of course, we aren't a top team just yet. We're currently sat around P5, so it won't make much difference to us. I'm not really worried about the cars behind us, so it's probably worth just voting against that one, isn't it? So hopefully we'll get a confirmation at some point in the future whether that goes through or not. I'm sure all the big teams will vote yes, and all the little teams will vote no in that regard there. But as well, we've got the Aramco F1 in Schools World Finals. We can either attend, earn $100,000, but lose staff experience gain for a week, or we cannot attend now. We don't really want to be the bad guy down at McLaren yet, so we'll allow all of the staff to head out there for 1 week as well then. But yeah, as we look towards the French Grand Prix even, we've got new rear wings ready on the car as well, so we need to try and make sure that we manufacture some of those before we head towards this weekend. So if we go down to manufacture, we need to go rushed, and we need 2 of those rear wings. So, I mean, we'll set up 4 to go just in case we pick up damage at some point during a weekend. But yeah, we're making good progress. I've manufactured the wrong rear wing. Oh dearie me. Let's just get in towards the French Grand Prix. We'll pretend that hasn't just happened. I'm such a moron. Okay, before we do that though, let's see whether the regulation change have been voted against. They're Ferrari weirdly voting against it. The same for Mercedes. Red Bull, Alpine, Williams and AlphaTauri have voted for it though. So we're not going to see that regulation change. That's good for us. Now we can jump into the French Grand Prix.
It's Grand Prix time here in Le Castellet. The very first horseless carriage race was organised in France in 1894. Since then, well, the carriages have only gotten faster. For the Grand Prix here, Paul Ricard boasts a fine collection of low, medium and high-speed corners. The scene curve is taken at breakneck speed, right before heavy braking at Beausset. This is an all-rounder test for cars and drivers alike. The season is about halfway through, and it makes me wonder what else is in store for the teams. Well, there's only one way to find out. The weekend begins here.
Right, well here we are then, back in the French countryside, Le Castellet, the location for round 12 of the F1 season. And unlike Austria last weekend, it's meant to just be partly cloudy throughout the entire weekend here. So fingers crossed we can just try to settle down. You know, I'm not expecting us to be able to get a repeat of last weekend anytime soon. You know, we will relish that moment. It will be kept in the memory. But yeah, certainly it is not suddenly going to become the normal here on F1 Manager. As always, we'll make some tweaks and we'll send both cars out and just see what works and what doesn't. Still always surprises me on F1 Manager that other cars aren't ready to go right at the start of the session. Both of our cars out there already on their second loop around the circuit, and no one else has even considered leaving the pit lane yet. You gotta love it. Lando, come on.
Watch this.
I get that the fact that another Australian's won a race before you can lives rent-free in your head, but he's just done a Charles Leclerc down at the end of the straight. That looked very nasty. It's Paul Ricard. You've got to go like 3 miles off the circuit to find a wall. That being said, though, Lando is still quicker than Oscar early on. And I forgot to tell them to avoid curbs, driving clean air. And I also forgot to tell them, put them back on the old components as well. There's so many little things to think about on F1 Manager. My little brain can't keep up. Neither car happy with the setup so far, so we'll bring both of them in then to the pit lane. Let's have a look. I mean, we weren't a million miles away there with either driver. Lando Norris, I knew I was running quite a lot of downforce around this venue. They're clearly not happy with the traction. Does he want less traction? I don't know. Oscar Piastri won't pit. I've literally just spent the last 2 minutes trying to get him to box. He's run out of fuel out on the circuit. He was refusing. That's just done. He just wouldn't pit. He was genuinely sat there for like 4 laps trying to pit. And he hasn't. And that's him out of free practice 1. This game occasionally is still a wee bit buggy, I think, is the political way we're gonna say that. Well, the only thing I can possibly think of is now Oscar Piastri is a Formula 1 Grand Prix winner, that he clearly knows better than everyone else in this sport, and when the team tell him to pit, he goes, why should I? I know what I'm doing, I can win races. As looks like one of the Alfa Romeos has gone round down at the Seam corner, or Labose, I can't remember names, around this track. I mean, it's not on the calendar for 2023, so it doesn't really matter anymore. But yeah, we're doing alright still. Lando just completing his final runs, but Oscar Piastri might have shot himself in the foot this weekend. Lando now happy with the car. Setup feels pretty good to me, so I think Oscar Piastri is just going to have to use that setup then, whatever Lando's been given, as we head in towards qualifying tomorrow. But times at the front there, Ferrari and Red Bull as always, not much to separate them. Verstappen a little way down the order though, which is quite a big surprise. Lando Norris can head into the pit lane then, so it's just Oscar Piastri that apparently can't. How is the setup looking though? Great, good and good. I don't really want to make too many aggressive tweaks to try and change anything. If we just go like that, we should be pretty much there then by the looks of it. I'm happy with that. Hopefully Lando is as well. We'll send him out for just a couple of extra laps right at the end of free practice here. But yeah, I think it's time we move into qualifying.
We return to our highly anticipated race weekend, just in time for the start of qualifying. Drivers will have to demonstrate remarkable consistency as they progress through qualifying. Those at the very top of their game will be looking to lay down a lap time that sets them apart from their competitors. Sometimes that's a mere fraction of a second. Strap yourselves in. This is Formula One.
Oh, dearie me. Oh no! For the first time ever on F1 Manager, I decided just to sim Q1 in the McLaren series, because, I mean, we've made it into Q3 so often recently. Apparently that was a mistake there. We shouldn't have done that. Oscar Piastri out in Q1 slower than Mick Schumacher there. Really doesn't look like we've actually got particularly competitive pace then this weekend, but plenty of other cars with grid penalties. Was that just a mistake, or have we just been a bit nerfed because we've simulated it? We've got to try and see if we can get Lando into Q3. This is not my weekend so far. Well, I suppose it's going to be a good test then to see just how inaccurate the simulated qualifying programs are here on F1 Manager, as Lando Norris then coming towards the end of his first run here in Q2. At least we've only have to focus on one car as well. Trying to look at the positives here, but it has been a disastrous weekend so far for Oscar Piastri. The only thing that could top this is if he gets involved in a shunt down at turn 1. But down over the start-finish line then, Lando Norris crossing the timing beam. There goes quicker than Kevin Magnussen, but 8 tenths away from Valtteri Bottas, who's currently fastest there, who's now just been shown up by George Russell there. Looks like Bottas is a long way clear of pretty much everyone else. Yeah, this track doesn't seem to suit us particularly well. Right, let's ride on board then with Lando Norris as he rounds the final corner to start his final lap here in Q2. Currently sat down in P9 there, with the likes of Ocon, Tsunoda, and even Zhou Guanyu and Lewis Hamilton, of course, haven't really got a fair representative time on the board just yet, so this could get quite close towards the end of qualifying here at La Castellana. 5th gear as he tips his way in through turn 1 and turn 2 there. Of course, at the first couple of corners, you've got another short squirt of throttle before you head down into the braking zone of turn 3. Flip the car in through the right there, down the gears through the second part there. Want to try and regulate the throttle to make sure you're over on that left-hand side before the tight right-hander, before we then arc through the next right and out on towards the Mistral straight here. Of course, much longer in the GT3 configuration, but Formula 1 opted to run with this layout with the chicane halfway down it throughout its entirety of its stint here in the Grand Prix calendar. Whether it would have been a bit better without that, I'll let you guys let me know down in the comments below there. But nice and tidy, Lando tips it through the chicane there. Are we going to see any other times improve? Fernando Alonso up into P6 there. Max Verstappen up onto the front row alongside Charles Leclerc. Of course, remember, this is only Q2 at the moment. Leclerc unable to improve there, but Sainz goes up into second place there. Charles Leclerc has improved, sorry, as now Pierre Gasly slots still into P8 there. Ocon, Tsunoda, Zhou Guanyu, all not able to improve over ourselves. Hamilton puts us down right on towards the cusp though. Will Magnussen be able to find any more time there? It's going to be both Haas cars rounding their way out of the final corner. Will it be Magnussen? Will it be Lando Norris then as he winds his way through the final couple of corners? Magnussen has improved. Lando Norris needs to find 0.2 of a second as we head out of the final corner. He was green in Sector 1, green in Sector 2. Will it be enough though to see him out of Q2? No, it won't. 16 thousandths of a second there. We are out in Q2, ready for the Austrian Grand Prix. We desperately need some more car upgrades. The developments are coming in thick and fast for other teams around us there, and a bit gutted for Lando Norris just to narrowly miss out there. We did find some time and get a whole lot closer to those other gaggle of cars that we need to be battling with, but not the result we would have wanted then in qualifying. Valtteri Bottas is on fresh engine components though, so he's going to be a bit further down the grid, ready for the start of this GP. But let's do this thing then. French Grand Prix time. Practice and qualifying have not been great. Hopefully the race we can turn it around.
Welcome to race day. And before we get down to it, last-minute checks are being made.
McLaren did well during qualifying. They maximised their potential and are in a good position for the race today. Although we didn't see a standout performance from Alpine during qualifying, everything's still open to them during this race. The weather is very overcast here, and teams are staring at the sky watching for the first sign of rain. Strategies might have to be quite flexible going into today's race.
Absolutely right. So brace yourself for a fantastique conclusion to the French Grand Prix.
Right, well, here we are then, ready for the French Grand Prix at Le Castellet. And in terms of strategy today, I think we really do need to try and go for something a little bit left field there. Oscar Piastri, of course, we know just how bad he is for tyre wear. Lando Norris, though, I think we'll keep him on a fairly orthodox strategy. We'll go medium hards. Actually, yeah, no, I'm going to gamble it. We're going to put both drivers on the hard compound tyres early on. They're going to try and extend those stints as far as possible, and we've got to pray that we don't get safety cars in this race. I mean, Oscar's starting right towards the rear of the field anyway, so we may as well give him a full tank of fuel there. Lando Norris need to try and get a good start there with our front car. But yeah, we need to try and see if we can score some points there. Lando in P8 then by virtue of those grid penalties. Oscar has been bumped up to P15. Let's do this thing.
The drivers have now taken position on the grid, and it's looking like a cloudy day. And there's Lando Norris. They might not be in the top 3 spots, but things could change fast once the race gets underway. And it's the other McLaren. Slower than most yesterday, so today they'll be starting from the bottom half of the grid. Everything's been building to this. And here we go with the French Grand Prix. And it's lights out and away we go.
Well, there we go then, lights out and away we go here in Le Castellet. And Lando Norris then off to a pretty decent start there as Esteban Ocon alongside him loses the place to Sergio Perez on the run down in towards the first corner there. Lando just trying to hold off from Frenchman Esteban Ocon though through turn 2, and you can see Perez, they're going to try and make it 3 wide there immediately in this Grand Prix. So Lando Norris might be under a bit of pressure early on as we're going to try and send him back around the outside of Checo in towards the middle sector of the lap there, but surely Sergio Perez on the medium compounded tyres is just going to be able to put up a good fight there. Looks like Oscar Piastri has lost the place to Alex Albon at the start of this race as well. There is just making sure that Lando Norris is using plenty of battery here to try and slingshot his way back alongside Sergio there. Doesn't look quite like he's going to be able to get the run though at the start of this race, as Oscar Piastri under even more pressure from now. I think it's Lance Stroll just behind him at the start of this race there, and looks like he's going to go side by side with the Canadian in towards the chicane there. Lance Stroll just about gives him the room off the corner there, and I mean, Oscar Piastri, like I said, he's just got to try and use that extra fuel, swipes in front of the Aston Martin as they head out of the chicane there, up in towards Scene Corner, and swoops there around the outside. Cool, calm, collected from the young Australian there, of course, the race-winning Australian. How many times we're going to mention that over the course of this video there? But Lando Norris sat now just behind Kevin Magnussen. Looks like Sergio Perez is trying to make light work of the cars up in front of him there, as it looks like already Oscar Piastri, Pierre Gasly even, just trying to jump out of the way of the Red Bull car. There is George Russell, of course, as well, at a position ready for the start of this race. So end of lap 1, fairly clean and tidy there. Both cars losing 1 place. And in terms of tyres, it's mixed up strategy. A lot of drivers on the mediums, but quite a few, though, also on the hard compound tyres. Charles Leclerc leads the way ahead of Carlos Sainz there. Max Verstappen side by side with Hamilton in through turn 1 and turn 2. They're lucky that there was no contact between those two at the first corner. But yeah, good, clean, tidy start for us. I think, like I said, we just got to settle down early on in this race and just make sure that we're in prime position later on to capitalise. There we go. Piastri re-overtaking Alex Albon then in this Grand Prix. We really don't want to be battling with Williams all too much this season, despite the fact that the young Thai driver is on a set of softer compound tyres there. But yeah, Oscar Piastri swoops back through up into P15. Certainly does struggle to build confidence early on in a Grand Prix here on F1 Manager, but he has made it work, and he's now got to try and close up to Zhou Guanyu there, trying to balance out the ERS usage early on in this race. But of course, Oscar as well can use plenty of laps on the aggressive fuel modes. Fortunately, though, looks like Lando Norris might be about to lose the place to George Russell in this Grand Prix, as out of the final corner, the Mercedes is going to have the DRS there. Lando Norris certainly isn't. Not really sure this is worth a fight having. But George isn't actually going to complete the move there on his old GP/Formula 2 rival. Of course, these two really have risen up the ranks of junior Formula in England, and then, of course, Europe, and then worldwide back in FIA Formula 2. That, yeah, they certainly know how to battle each other out on a circuit. I think these two still have got good racing respect, though, as they head out on towards the Mistral Straight once more, though. Lap 5 of 53 here, of course, the French Grand Prix, often forgotten, actually, is a very, very high-speed afternoon worth of racing action there, as Lando Norris going to defend from George Russell behind him there. George Russell going to be forced to the outside, but again, unable to make the overtake early on in this GP. We all know what's going to happen. I'm going to fast forward on, and George Russell will be ahead of him, and Lando Norris has a fair chance he'll be upside down. And just like magic, 1 lap later, George Russell has completed the move there, back down in towards turn 1. Let's just see. Yep, nice easy DRS move there. Lando Norris again defensive, but George Russell there much more speed, able to carry it around the outside to the racing line in towards turn 1 there, and swoops through up into P9. If we can try and hang on with him, that would be quite good here, but still a long old afternoon's worth of action, and like I keep saying, this race has got to come back to us later on. We are, however, going to try and get Oscar Piastri to apply some pressure to Zhou Guanyu in this race, trying to just slowly pick up the places early on here. As you can see to the outside of the Alfa Romeo, he's going to get the car fully alongside there, nice and deep, and lay on the brakes, and into P14 he goes. Beautiful little move there by Oscar. His race engineer just confirming that with him as well. It's what we like to see. Oscar Piastri is slowly but surely building up more confidence in the car. Well, unfortunately, we've just overtaken one Alfa Romeo, but we're going to lose the place to the other there, as Valtteri Bottas has been absolutely flying early on this year. And unfortunately for Oscar Piastri, there's not really a lot he can do against the flying Finn. Back down to P15 in this Grand Prix, but again, if he can try and use the Alfa Romeo to get close to the cars in front, it's not the end of the world. Far from it, in fact. Oh, Yuki Tsunoda then, the next one on Oscar Piastri's, can't even think of the right word, on his hit list. That's the one I'm going with. This time around there, top professional commentary by myself as always then, as unfortunately not able to find an avenue past the AlphaTauri this time round, but surely, I mean, the likes of Tsunoda, Mick Schumacher, we should be quicker than you'd like to believe, as Lando just trying to build up a bit of a gap to Esteban Ocon behind. A little bit nervous though. Looks like Valtteri Bottas now has pushed his way back up into P11 of this GP, so Lando Norris now might have to do some defending over the next few laps, but Oscar Piastri there still stuck looking at the rear wing of the AlphaTauri car as Mick Schumacher trying to make that Haas as wide as possible. I think we're just going to have to try and... We can't really get... This is the problem, of course, with Oscar Piastri. You can't even really get him to push because he just likes to shred tyres like they're going out of fashion. Here goes Bottas. Start at lap 19 there to the inside of Lando Norris. Back down towards turn 1. And again, just clearly we do not have the pace this weekend around the really, really high-speed Le Castellet circuit. Bottas now through into the points there of this Grand Prix. I think we're going to need a bit of a miracle if we want to try and score this weekend, as once more Fernando Alonso applying some pressure there. We've got battles going on everywhere, though, with Charles Leclerc trying to defend from his teammate Carlos Sainz. Perez is back into P3, but of course Max Verstappen on those hard compound tyres. They're battling Lewis Hamilton just behind once again. Oh, he tried to slam the door, but Hamilton not having any of it as they head out into the second half of the Mistral Straight there. But Lando Norris still behind Valtteri Bottas, and yeah, unfortunately, either Tsunoda needs to drop out of the 1 second zone behind Mick Schumacher, or we're just not going to be able to find a way around him. Here we go, though. I think this now has got to be our chance with Oscar Piastri in this Grand Prix there. Yuki now has just made a small mistake that's bumped him back about 2 seconds now behind Mick Schumacher, so surely with the DRS, we're going to be able to make something happen here as the Oscar moaning that the tyres are a little bit warm. Get used to it, mate. Come on, make the move happen on Yuki Tsunoda, then wave goodbye to your old Formula 2 rival. Did they race F2 in the same year? No, I think no. Yuki got promoted, didn't he? Before Oscar Piastri came into Formula 2 there. But Piastri now up into P14. And a little bit of sparks showering the circuit on corner exits. Sainz, Perez and Lewis Hamilton then first cars into the pit lane then. So clearly they only believe that the mediums can do about 20 laps or so. But that's good to know for us for later on in the afternoon. As Piastri through, Lando Norris just sat watching as Bottas now battles with K-Mag. As soon as I say that, though, K-Mag into the pit lane, as well as Alonso, Gasly and co. So we've got to really push on over these next few laps to try and see if we can do a bit of an overcut. As Oscar Piastri as well, of course, should gain some places out of this. But again, I'm not really too sure he's going to be in much of this fight. Well, as we cross half distance then in this GP, looks like things are just levelling out in the Grand Prix. Norris has just been jumped by Lewis Hamilton, and it looks like the other car is about to get jumped by the other Mercedes as well in this GP. Of course, we've got to make one more pit stop. A lot of these cars are going to be going to the end, I'm guessing. Yeah, every single car on this circuit is currently out on the hard compound tyres, but yeah, we've just got to try and see what happens at the moment there. Just trying to manage everything with both drivers. As Lando Norris there, just making sure we keep the gap to Ocon at a healthy margin. Looks like Yuki Tsunoda has boxed as well there, but George Russell, surely, like I said, we made a bit of a hash of trying to get around Lando not long ago. But Oscar needs to try and close the gap to Mick Schumacher desperately in this Grand Prix. Here goes George Russell, though, down the inside, down the Mistral Straight there. Not really a battle, I'm sure, that Piastri wants to get involved in particularly either. And there we go. Apparently he's upset about that, but it is what it is. Piastri now under pressure from Fernando Alonso behind. I think we're going to have to tell him to try and hold the cars behind just to see if we can help Lando Norris in this Grand Prix. Last weekend might have been a fantastic one for Oscar Piastri, but I don't think it's really overridden the fact that he's still playing second fiddle to Lando in the greater scheme of things this season. Can he try and keep Fernando Alonso at bay just for a little while for us? It could be very, very useful in the second half of the afternoon there, of course, with Lando Norris hopefully going to be a whole lot quicker than the rest of his competitors here. And most cars are going to be doing medium hard or vice versa. Lando, we're going to try and take him about another 10 laps and then just do a 15 or so lap blast on the soft compound tyres to the end of this Grand Prix, as Oscar Piastri will do a fantastic effort there, keeping Alonso at bay. We just need more of that, though, from him. So you can just see how many cars now Oscar Piastri is trying to defend from in this race. We're going to try and keep him out one more lap this afternoon there, just to try and keep Alonso back a little bit further there. But he is doing absolute brilliant work there. Alonso, Gasly, Magnussen and Zhou Guanyu all stuck in this train there. 5 cars from 5 different teams with all 4 different power components in the rear of the cars there. And there we go. Oscar Piastri, we are going to confirm box at the end of lap 32 there. So a valiant effort, like I mentioned, by Oscar Piastri there. You can see he sounds like he's under pressure in the car, but it has made Lando Norris's life a bit easier as he's still able to keep up with George Russell. This is fantastic work. Oh, Oscar's let Fernando Alonso through, and you can immediately see how much time he's lost to the Alpine driver there. That's a little bit unfortunate, but I mean, he's done a fantastic job over these last few laps, like I said. The gap to Alonso, about 16.5 seconds then before he boxes. I think Bottas, of course, is on the same strategy yet, so he's gone mediums to the end there, so he's absolutely waltzed this as the best of the midfield by the looks of things, unless, of course, Lando Norris can absolutely fly towards the end of this Grand Prix there. But Lando Norris, like I said, it's going to be about another 5 laps before he pits, 4 or 5, if we can possibly stretch it that far. But Zhou Guanyu just not particularly great on the tyres. Zhou Guanyu as well into the pit lane. But yeah, 20 laps to go, though, of this Grand Prix. We're doing pretty well at the moment, just all things considered. Lando Norris is going to get back out onto the circuit, then he's going to re-emerge, unfortunately, a bit further down the roster in, what, about P15 of this Grand Prix. Really has not been the weekend for him. He has really, struggled quite a lot more than I think any of us really hoped. Right, well, we are going to box then Lando Norris at the end of this lap. Fresh set of soft compound tyres are going to be bolted on to that McLaren car there, as Piastri and Zhou Guanyu apparently still battling each other late on in the Grand Prix there. Here comes Zhou Guanyu, as we've got both of our cars now battling both Alfa Romeos in this GP. But Lando Norris is only going to be about 8 seconds. He's only got, 9 seconds to Fernando Alonso behind him, so it is going to be quite a mammoth task in the second half of this race, or the final quarter even, really, I should say, of this afternoon's running. But that being said, he should be a whole lot quicker there. Fresh softs against old hard compound tyres in this race, as someone else is locked up a bit further back. We could have really done with a safety car in that moment had we been incredibly lucky. As where is Lando Norris going to re-emerge then in this race? It's going to be just like behind Esteban Ocon by the looks of it. No, just behind Kevin Magnussen in this Grand Prix. So here goes Zhou Guanyu back down towards turn 1. Are we going to get out ahead of the AlphaTauri? No, we're not. And Lando Norris has got to really work hard then in the final stages of this Grand Prix. He's only, what, about, what's the gap? 10 seconds away from the points there, but I'm sort of looking at Fernando Alonso. 16 seconds. We need a second a lap between now and the flag. That is not impossible, as immediately I think we're going to try and put on the offensive here with Yuki Tsunoda. But Oscar Piastri, again, still battling with Zhou Guanyu a bit further back. Unfortunately, I think we're going to kind of have to forget about him at the moment. We've got bigger things to worry about. Like, are we going to see Lando Norris complete the move straight off the bat as he heads out of the pit lane there? Still got slightly cold tyres, but to the inside of Yuki Tsunoda, that beautiful little decisive move. Gets the car wedged over the curbing nicely as well. They make sure to give Yuki some room on the exit of the corner, and looks like Yuki is going to try and come back at him though as we head up in towards Scene Corner. They're just using the little bit of extra fuel that we've got at the moment, but it's not going to be enough. Side by side through Scene Corner between the AlphaTauri and the McLaren car there. Lando Norris still on the outside of Yuki Tsunoda. Neither of these two willing to give up on it just yet there. This is beautiful racing as we head in towards the final sector, but now finally Lando Norris has got the inside for the next turn. He'll move through up into P12 of this race. Kevin Magnussen 4 seconds up the road. Let's get him. At the final corner then, Kevin Magnussen, just over 12 laps to go then, as Zhou Guanyu and Oscar Piastri still duking it out for nothing in this Grand Prix. But Magnussen very, very aggressive with his defending there. We're just going to bring Lando down onto the conserve just for a moment, and then we'll go for it down the back straight. Here we go then, once more with Lando Norris then, as you can see, gaining on the Haas car as we head down the Mistral straight. 10 laps to go here of the French Grand Prix, and he's through up into P11 then in this afternoon's running. How far back is he behind Alonso? It's about 11 seconds.
Nice job.
Oh no, here goes Magnussen though, back on the offensive out of the corner. Where has Kevin Magnussen found that sort of straight line speed? As will Lando Norris be able to hook it up? He's going to try and hang around the outside of the Haas car there. Somehow, no! Magnussen just able to slam the door, and again, we're going to have to bring him back down into conserve. We need to be able to just use all of the power when possible. But yeah, we're just, at the moment, we're still lacking that little bit extra that we really needed this weekend. Ocon and Gasly still battling up the road. We have to try and keep pushing. Here we go again. 1 lap later. He's all over the back of Magnussen again there. This time round, Kevin's going to go defensive. And again, we're not going to be able to find anything. We're going to put him on full fat deploy as we head out onto the second part of the Mistral straight there. But he's not going to get anywhere near close enough to K-Mag. What on earth has that Haas car got underneath it, giving it that sort of traction out of the corners? I don't get this. I don't get this. We've just left him hopefully sat behind Magnussen, and now suddenly he has got the run on the Haas car there. As you can see, he flies at the inside back towards the first corner. Where was that straight line speed when I was telling him on the deploy? I mean, we are still going quicker than the two cars in front of us late on in the day, but 3 seconds the gap up to Pierre Gasly up the road, and unfortunately Lando Norris's tyres are starting just to hit the cliff here. It's going to be a big push towards the end. Luckily Gasly has lost the DRS range to Esteban Ocon in front of him, but can we try and just scrape 1 point away from the French Grand Prix after the highs that were last weekend? This one has certainly been another wake-up call. Right, 2 laps to go here from the French Grand Prix, and now the gap to Pierre Gasly at the road, 1.4 seconds. We need to get within the DRS. I've told Lando Norris just go full attack mode on the fuel and the tyres. We might have to bring him back down on the fuel side of things at some point before the end, but I just need to try and get in the DRS for one chance in this Grand Prix there. I'm going to just manage the battery as best as possible. Looks like Oscar Piastri, Zhou Guanyu still duking out behind. We've never been able to burn off the fuel for Oscar Piastri there since the start of the Grand Prix, so that was a bit of a blunder on my half once again. But overtake mode for Lando Norris as we head out onto the Mistral straight there for the penultimate time. Sainz still leading the way. Luckily, of course, we're not going to get lapped by him, but Lando complaining that the tyres are overheating, as we're just trying to give him the overtake mode down the back straight there, but it's still not bringing him close enough. Full deploy as we head in towards the final sector of lap 52 there. 1.1, come on, just get the gap under a second. Then we have still got a fighting chance here, Lando. 1 second, 9/10 of a second. This is not over. Can we strip Pierre Gasly of the final points paying position here in towards the final lap of the French Grand Prix? This is coming down to the wire, as you can just see there. He's got no extra spare fuel again. We're going to have to bring it back down into harvest as we wind our way through this final sector, but we have to make sure that we stay within the 1 second of Pierre Gasly there. As you can see, the fuel is on exactly even as we start the final lap of this GP there. Surely we're inside DRS range as we head back down at the final corner there. We're going to bring it back out. You can see the tyre wear warning light has just flashed up as well, but we have got the DRS on Pierre Gasly. It's going to be free time as we head back down towards Turn 1 there, but you can see he's got no battery, no spare fuel, and very little in the way of tyres as well. It is going to be one shot down in towards this chicane there, halfway down the Mistral straight. Are we going to be able to find anything with Lando Norris? This has come down to the wire. I was really hoping these soft compound tyres would be a lot more competitive for a lot longer here. Sainz is going to take the win ahead of Sergio Perez there. Charles Leclerc finishing P3, so a really good afternoon for Sergio, but not for any of the other drivers there. As get him on the overtake mode. Are we going to be able to try and find any window past Pierre Gasly on this final lap there? The fuel is still even. The tyres are absolutely destroyed there. Gaining on Pierre Gasly. We're going to again have to go full deploy in towards... No! Big lock-up for Lando Norris. It's just pushing too hard down the end of the back straight there. Completely misses the chicane. And that might be it, all done and dusted. It came down to the wire on the final lap. We were telling him to push on as hard as possible, but it's going to amount to nothing there. We may as well bring him back on the full harvest. We got a bit of a gap to Kevin Magnussen further behind there, but he absolutely destroyed the tyres in that moment as well, so got to be very careful through the final few corners there. But Oscar Piastri will unfortunately finish P16 behind Zhou Guanyu there, so yeah, really with the exception of the back markers of Aston Martin and Williams, not the afternoon for Oscar Piastri there, but winding his way through the final couple of corners. You cannot argue against it. He gave it his all right to the checkered flag here in the French Grand Prix, but Lando Norris just not quite able to get close enough. It will be Alonso finishing 8th ahead of both Frenchmen there getting into the points, so a happy day for them, and I'm sure a lot of the fans around the circuit, to be honest, quite happy to see Gasly holding on there. But out of the final corner, it's 11th place for Lando Norris here at Le Castellet. That has really not been the weekend we wanted after all the highs of last time out.
And that's good enough work from Lando Norris this weekend. McLaren showed some good stuff here today, but they'll be building on that now to try and improve their results next time.
Yes, this was a contrasted performance, but there were some good moments. There is promise here of great things down the line.
The end this weekend in 5th place in the constructor standings.
Next round, we're moving on to an exhilarating circuit. Formula One will be taking to the Hungaroring for the Hungarian Grand Prix.
Well, there we are then, having a look at our final race results here from the Castellet. Carlos Sainz from, third place on the grid there, able to jump both of his championship rivals and takes yet another victory in this championship campaign. Sergio Perez, a fantastic race by him to come through from 10th on the grid to finish on the podium there and split the Ferrari cars when Max Verstappen, oddly seemed to struggle a lot throughout this Grand Prix there. Hamilton ahead of Russell, Bottas from the back of the grid to best of the rest there. A fantastic job by him, ahead of Alonso, Ocon and Gasly there, with Lando Norris in 11th and Oscar Piastri there down in P16. Does mean championship-wise, Russell rejumps Bottas with that result there, but Sainz now with a 22-point lead at the top of the table there. He is slowly opening up a gap again to those cars behind him. 5 wins for Sainz, 3 for Max Verstappen there, and 3 for Charles Leclerc respectively. And of course, let's not forget 1 for Oscar Piastri. Further down the roster, no other movement though in the Drivers' Championship. Constructors-wise though, unfortunately for us, Alpine with those good points pull a little bit further clear there. Alfa Romeo as well close down the gap once more. Of course, I think we only need P6 come the end of this first season, but I would really love to try and finish best of the rest there. But thank you all so much for watching this video nonetheless. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed as well, and we'll be back very, very soon with more F1 Manager content. None of these videos would be possible without the help of our channel members, so a massive thank you to all of the names you see on your screens currently for helping support the channel. You can join them by clicking the join button down below, and thank you once again to everyone that continues all the insane support on my work.